The 3D Mario series is without a doubt the greatest Nintendo series of all time. It all started 22 years ago with Super Mario 64, a game that didn't just start the brilliance of the 3D Mario series, but also revolutionized Mario as a whole. Super Mario 64 was a perfect start to the series and provided a beautiful base to develop further in the next entry of the series. And then 6 long years later, a new game emerged from the clouds along with the sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine. The first heir to the 3D Mario series stepped up to the plate to live up to the home run that was Super Mario 64. And I'm super glad to say that it didn't just live up to the brilliance of Super Mario 64, but it revolutionized the series and was succeeding forever. What did Super Mario Sunshine do to improve upon the 3D Mario series base? What minor things are also fixed with 3D Mario because of Super Mario Sunshine? And what problems still persist in 3D Mario even with the release of Super Mario Sunshine? To answer these questions, we first have to talk about the core piece of Super Mario Sunshine that set in motion a staple of the 3D Mario series. I'm talking about Flood, the first gimmick we've ever seen in 3D Mario ever. Flood is what makes Super Mario Sunshine revolutionary for the 3D Mario series. In Super Mario 64, it was the base to start the series, so it included no gimmicks. Just basic Mario yahoos and whoop-ahs and all that jazz. Flood being the first gimmick expands the 3D Mario series heights and limits literally plus figuratively. It upscales many things like the movement, boss fights, exploration, level design, parkour challenges, creativity, and so much more that we will go in depth on later. Flood was the first step to raising the limits of the capabilities of Mario and the 3D Mario series as a whole. It would inspire many different gimmicks down the road as well. Maybe you've heard of the spin attack from Galaxy, or maybe Cappy from Odyssey. You can thank Flood or EGAD for being the origin of all those gimmicks. So not only is Flood something that makes Super Mario Sunshine unique, it's what led the other 3D Mario games in the series to be unique and push the boundaries of what our short, fat Italian plumber could do. Without Flood, let's just say Super Mario Sunshine would not have been nearly as revolutionary as it was for the 3D Mario series. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do things like this, or this, or this. Oh yeah, that's right, we're about to talk about how Super Mario Sunshine improved upon 3D Mario's movement. Movement is a staple of gaming. I mean, that's why people still bother to play Titanfall 2, is because of the insane movement they have in that game, and it's the same way for 3D Mario as well. The movement in 3D Mario is a staple of 3D Mario. Super Mario Sunshine was the first game in the 3D Mario series to take Mario's movement to the next level, and that's where Flood returns. Flood completely extends the vertical and horizontal movement of Mario using its many modes, like the hover mode for horizontal movement, the blast nozzle for insane vertical movement, and the turbo nozzle for insane ground movement, including running on water. These changes completely expanded Mario's ability to move, but it isn't just Flood and Professor EGAD that improved Mario's movement. Mario himself decided to go on some training arc or some shit and eat some special shrooms because he learned new moves like the super spin jump and the fucking turbo hump. Going back to Flood, once again, there's some Flood exclusive moves developed in Super Mario Sunshine, including the super slide, jump hover, and even the Brazzers swing. The movement in this game is nuts, and that's without even mentioning the insane hops Yoshi has. Like, damn, he must be LeBron or some shit. All in all, this improvement on Mario's movement would inspire games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey to come up with its own new unique moves to boost Mario's movement capabilities further down the 3D Mario series lifetime. Mario Sunshine was the first piece of the movement puzzle to revolutionize the capabilities of our fat Italian plumber further down the stretch, and without Sunshine, movements in 3D Mario would never have been the same. Another thing that got improved upon in Sunshine that later games in the series would adapt to is the graphics, hub world, and overall world design. I never thought I'd say something negative about Super Mario 64, but when I went back and played Super Mario 64 for this video, I couldn't help but notice how bad the textures, enemies, and graphics looked overall. This isn't Super Mario 64's fault. A lot more hardware limitations existed with the N64 rather than the GameCube, but when Mario Sunshine came around, textures went from looking like shit stains to looking like well-made textures that weren't blocky like an Android phone. As Nintendo evolved from the N64 to the GameCube, the quality of the graphics increased as you'd expect, which was a huge step in the right direction and be improved upon even further as the generation of 3D Mario went on from system to system. This is the more minor evolution in this section, but a major revolution is the evolution of 3D Mario hub worlds. That shit sounded like a tongue twister. Starting back at Mario 64 once again, the hub world around the Mushroom Kingdom felt very dead. They didn't put too much effort into building the Mushroom Kingdom's community, hidden secrets, and overall its charm. Then what you would see in the Mushroom Kingdom is like 2 toads in a room doing NPC shit, or occasionally a couple of secret areas like the famous Princess Peach's slide. And then you go to Super Mario Sunshine's Delfino Plaza, filled with lively Piantas running around selling fruits, running the shops in the town center, conversating about whatever the fuck palm tree head out looking beings talk about, and occasionally falsely arresting Mario. Mario Sunshine's hub world was extremely creative in that way, and it even housed secret areas and hidden shrines around the map. You can even run around with Yoshi, which would also make a return in Mario Galaxy later down the line. Mario Sunshine's hub world was a huge step in the right direction when it comes to hub worlds, and we would see it come back in games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Sunshine completely revolutionized the hub world aspect with the brilliant brilliant design of the vacation destination Delfino Plaza. Then later on down the line, Mario Odyssey would bring it even further to the next level, but we'll save Odyssey for another video. Subscribe for that one. Anyways, the expansive hub world of Super Mario Sunshine was brilliant, and it revolutionized 3D Mario games in the future. The last and most important revolution that comes in two halves is the general world quality and level design. Comparing Sunshine to 64, once again, the overall scale of levels had taken a huge leap in scale and quality. I mean, the maps in Mario Sunshine are massive and set new boundaries for where Mario could explore. Not to mention that most of the maps are beautiful and really built off of everything that Mario 64 had set up for it, plus more. With the addition of Blood, Nintendo could design worlds in more unique ways, as Flood allows you to move in new ways to access different areas. Noki Bay is a great example of the grandeur of Super Mario Sunshine's world design. The map is large in scale and fully utilizes the concept of Flood to access areas. Combine that with a beautiful aesthetic and you got exactly how Super Mario Sunshine revolutionized the overall design of levels. The absolute grandeur of the places you could visit was astounding in Mario Sunshine and was set in motion a revolution of the scale of maps Mario could visit further down the line. This is especially the case in the Mario Galaxy duo of games, which we'll also dive into in another video. Subscribe for that one as well. The second half I mentioned, level design was also heavily improved upon in Mario Sunshine from Mario 64. I noticed when I went back and played Mario 64 that some of the stars were recycled. For example, in Lethal Lava Land, the first star you acquire is from defeating the bully on the platform. The second star you receive is also for beating up bullies on a platform, just in a higher quantity. These recycled stars aren't very creative, and that's where the revolutionary Super Mario Sunshine steps in. With the addition of Blood, the ways to obtain shines gets a lot more creative in this game. For example, using Flood to brush an eel's teeth, using Flood to propel a watermelon to a fruit competition, or using Flood to participate in illegal gambling. Flood just allows for more clever and creative missions to do. The creative nature of missions will be passed down to the other games in the 3D Mario series, revolutionizing it even further. Mario Galaxy would perfect this, but once again, we will say that for another video in the future. Overall, the graphics, hub world design, and mission design were improved and revolutionized in 3D Mario by the upgrades in hardware, clever use of Mario Sunshine's gimmick, and overall just by the creativeness put into Mario Sunshine. And speaking of gimmicks, I think it's about time we talk about how Mario Sunshine's gimmick revolutionized bosses. To be blatantly honest, bosses have always been bad in most Mario releases, and that doesn't matter if it's 3D Mario or 2D Mario. In Super Mario 64, you can defeat most bosses with a few throws, maybe a ground pound or a few punches and kicks. You know your boss fights aren't gonna be too good when the first fight is just throwing the King of Bombs on his ass 3 times. I'm still mad I couldn't defeat King Bob by throwing him off that damn mountain. Point is, Super Mario 64's bosses weren't very amazing when it comes to fighting them. I describe most fights as mundane, and that went for Bowser too. Every single time you fight Bowser in Super Mario 64, you just fucking nuke him once and be done with it, which set the bar low for bosses in the 3D Mario series. It was the first game in 3D Mario series, so that is to be expected. Nintendo has never been good at bosses, to be honest. Until Super Mario Sunshine. It came to the rescue with its trusty old pal Blood. The bosses in this game scaled up to even higher heights Mario has never seen in terms of bosses. Rather than landing a few punches and kicks to win, you might have to inflate up Petey Piranha like a goddamn water balloon until he bursts, split a manta ray into chunks till it disperses, or chuck a chili pepper into a ghost's mouth? Don't ask me how the fuck that works, but what I'm trying to say is that boss fights became more unique when it came to defeating them, thus making bosses feel less repetitive. As for Bowser fights and mid-bosses, they were just a lot more clever with those special fights that are crucial to the Mario franchise. The highlight that comes to mind is the rocket fight with Bowser Jr. at the theme park, as well as the final boss, which was a lot more creative as well. Rather than fighting the same fight 3 times, Mario Sunshine opted for a more unique set of fights that would inspire the later games in the series to get creative and go all out for their boss design. And this is especially shown in Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. This game made 3D Mario bosses what they are today, and I'm super happy that for once in Nintendo's game developing career, they didn't throw when it comes to bosses.
That's what I've been waiting for.
The revolution of gimmicks once again improved upon the 3D Mario series drastically, but there are some lesser problems that were fixed from Super Mario 64 to Sunshine that revolutionized 3D Mario. To start off this section, we should talk about camera controls. The camera controls from the start of 3D Mario was really shitty. Casting Lakitu as a cameraman was one of the worst decisions Nintendo made for Super Mario 64. All jokes aside, when I went back and played Super Mario 64, the camera feels very rigid and fixed, as the camera can only move in 45-degree increments around Mario. This made the camera very unreliable and janky. It can even occasionally get stuck in awkward places, which can be really annoying while playing. Super Mario Sunshine, this time without Flood, was the first game in the 3D Mario series to implement a camera that has a full free range of movement around Mario, allowing you complete freedom to look around Mario, and maybe even sightsee some of your favorite places in the Super Mario Sunshine world. Lakitu must have gone on his training arc because damn, he did a good job in Sunshine compared to 64. The full range of camera movement and the fact that the camera never gets stuck was a huge revolution in the 3D Mario series, and we integrated it into every further entry in the 3D Mario series. There wouldn't be a single 3D Mario after this without the full range of motion and resistance to getting step bro stuck on every single fucking wall, allowing you to take in the beautiful scenery of the 3D Mario series. The next minor revolution is very beneficial to idiot heads like me. With that description, I can only be talking about one thing, and that thing is level guidance and directions. In Super Mario 64, sometimes it was impossible to know what the fuck you were supposed to be doing to obtain a certain star. One of the most infamous examples is a mission called Chip Off Womp's Block, where you're somehow supposed to figure out that you have to shoot yourself out of a cannon at a specific part of the wall to obtain a star. Keep in mind, you have to figure this out with just the mission title and that's it. The game was asked us to be Mario Holmes or some shit. Like, how did people beat this mission back in the day without a YouTube tutorial? My dumbass had to use one. The lack of mission previews and arrow guides is a detriment to Super Mario 64, but once again, Mario Sunshine steps in to revolutionize this era of the 3D Mario series. This game was the first to implement arrows along the map to tell you where you were supposed to be going, as well as the first game to add a little mission preview so you knew what you were supposed to be doing. I'm surprised this wasn't in Super Mario 64, but with this addition into the 3D Mario series, it became less likely that you would get stuck on a level because you didn't know what the hell you were supposed to be doing. In this game, we actually got clues so it was up, rather than going in blind like Helen Keller or some shit. I'm super happy this revolution wasn't deleted from Mario Galaxy and Odyssey, because not all of us are born geniuses. We need our crutches. That's exactly what Super Mario Sunshine gave us. Google Maps. So far, Super Mario Sunshine has been a revolutionary release in the 3D Mario series. We've seen it conquer many problems and improve upon many parts of the 3D Mario series with its partner Flood by its side. 3D Mario wouldn't be the same without Mario Sunshine. However, I'd be lying if I said there weren't still issues with the 3D Mario series as a whole, even with the release of the GOAT that is Super Mario Sunshine. There's still problems with Mario Sunshine that I would like to go over quickly and address which game in the future would put the nail in the coffin for those said problems. Super Mario Sunshine may be revolutionary, but it is not perfect. Here are the issues still present in the 3D Mario series that are still yet to be fixed and revolutionized, starting with Postgame content. Postgame content is virtually non-existent in both games we talked about. Once you collect all the stars or shines and defeat Bowser, there isn't really much else to do in both Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. Yes, you could run around and collect all the blue coins like a rabid dog in Super Mario Sunshine, but other than that, once all stars or shines were collected, the game is over. This lack of postgame content is still a problem as of Super Mario Sunshine, but with the release of Super Mario Galaxy and especially Galaxy 2, this problem will be fixed. We'll talk about that in the Mario Galaxy video I plan on making next. Subscribe for that video in the future. The next problem is something you might remember me mentioning earlier in the video, that being recycling missions. I talked about how Super Mario 64 recycles stars, but I left out the fact that Super Mario Sunshine does the same thing as well. For example, in most worlds, you fight the same boss twice, like Petey Piranha or the Gooper Blooper, for example. The recycled stars can make things a little repetitive at times, though it doesn't happen often, it is still a problem. This issue will be fixed quite well in Galaxy and Odyssey, which we'll get to later down the line. Another thing that's often missing from Mario that a lot of people would like to see is the addition of a coherent story. A coherent story is often lacking in Mario games, and to be honest, Mario isn't really known for its story, but that doesn't mean that it'd be interesting to have a somewhat coherent story in the future of 3D Mario installments. For years, the story in Mario has usually just been Bowser kidnaps the princess and you have to stop him. That's how it was in Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine, though I will give Super Mario Sunshine some props for having the whole Bowser Jr. and Mama Peach story. That was actually kind of cool, especially the father-son moment at the end of the game. Though where I think coherent story was best revolutionized was with Mario Galaxy and the story of Rosalina that we will cover in the future. Finally, I can't help but mention one thing that's always great in every Mario game out there. You hear it constantly while playing, and it's always nice to listen to. Yes, I'm talking about music. In my opinion, the music in Super Mario Sunshine is a downgrade from Super Mario 64. Now, don't get me wrong. Mario Sunshine's music isn't bad per se, and it isn't really a problem. I just think that's been done better in one of the later entries in this 3D Mario series, and even by its predecessor, Super Mario 64. Mario music has never been bad. It's just peaked in later games. It was revolutionized by the generation in games like Super Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey. Mario music is phenomenal, but in Mario Sunshine, it's good, but the worst out of the 3D Mario series in my opinion when it comes to music. We'll talk about one of the greatest OSTs of all time in the Mario Galaxy video later. Despite the very minor issues that haven't been revolutionized yet by Super Mario Sunshine, I still consider it to be one of the most revolutionary games of the 3D Mario series. The increase in scale of 3D Mario that Super Mario Sunshine inspired is absolutely insane. It was the first step to making 3D Mario the insanely brilliant series we know today. Mario Sunshine did this by inspiring so many parts of the series further down the line. The nifty gimmick of FLUDD would go on to change the 3D Mario series forever, inspiring golden mechanics like the spin attack in Galaxy and Cappy in Odyssey. The scale of level design would forever be changed by it, sparking Mario to explore and conquer not just the Mushroom Kingdom, but the entire fucking galaxy as well. Without Super Mario Sunshine, who knows what would have happened with the 3D Mario series. Its influence on future 3D Mario games is ridiculous, and the amount of stuff it inspired within this series is why Super Mario Sunshine is one of the most revolutionary games of all time for the 3D Mario series. Thank you so much for watching this video where I meet ride Mario Sunshine. Subscribe for more videos like these in the future, and next time we'll take a look at how Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 revolutionized 3D Mario as well. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and peace out.